Hello, welcome to the Syncretism Society Virtual Academy. I'm Christopher, and today I'll be talking about the second stage of the alchemical process, coagulation, and how it relates to Taurus, how we can utilize the forces from that planetary influence of Venus, how the one becomes many while still maintaining its individuality, and also expressing about the word and how it manifests in the flesh, hence the word made flesh. So let's dig right into it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Now, coagulation, Taurus. This is the second stage of the alchemical process. Now, when we were going through Aries, which was calcination, that was when we were becoming aware of the essence of the I am. And once we became aware of our I am nature, that manifests when we're children, about in the age of 3, we get our first taste of I am as it arises from the 4 elements. The ether transmits into the 4 elements, and we experience our I am when the soul manifests fully into the body. So we then become aware of our I am, and through our initiations as we grow up and mature, we become aware that we have a part of us that is not the body, and we become aware of the I am, and we begin to identify with it. And at first, this is a very spontaneous eruption of illumination. First vibration of the pineal gland, you become illuminated, which is different than self-realization. Self-realization comes later on. Illumination takes place at various stages, various times, first being in Aries. Now, when we become aware of this, we're separating the volatile from the fixed from the volatile, meaning the body and the spirit. So we're separating the I am from the spirit. We get a good grasp of the separateness of that. And we start going into phase 2, which is coagulation. So we said we entered to a fixed state of awareness, where Aries, was a spontaneous eruption realization. Taurus being actually fixed earth sign. So we're moving from Aries, that spontaneous aspect, going into Taurus, a fixed, fixed in understanding, hey, we're actually inside of a body and we're becoming separate. But the coagulation process, you're actually bringing it together and making it become inseparable. So in Aries, we were separating them. Now we are bringing them together, making them inseparable. So this is in Aries. When we went through the calcination process, we go through the dawning, hence the dawn, or Aries 6 a.m. when the rooster crows. That's dawn. And that's our dawning. When we have our inner dawning of realization, we experience that there's a separateness between ourselves and the lower ego. So Taurus is when we take things to the next level. When we take the fixed and volatile, we combine them. The state of awareness that you experienced of the great I am in Aries, or the calcination process, now becomes fixed and permanent. You're starting to form a personal a personal center point of consciousness. It's becoming fixed. The I am is becoming fixed. Before, it was spontaneous and new. You didn't know about it. You started to realize it. You became unautomated, started meditating on the I am, just like in the Bible it says, I am that I am, or be still and know that I am God, or merged with God, or one in likeness with that. It's talking about energy. It's talking about electricity. It's talking about magnetism. It's talking about the Taurus field and how energy manifests and how matter manifests, decomposes, and regenerates. So once we go through the alchemical coagulation of Taurus, we're now able to withstand the torments of the material nature. We can now master the centaur and the maze. We begin to understand the matrix for what it is, and now we are no longer taken hither or there. Whereas in Aries, when we first realized the dawning of the I am, we were still questioning, we still had questioning, we still were trying to, compare odds and ends between the spiritual part of us and the physical, going back and forth, I'd say. And in Taurus, we're actually bringing them together. So this symbolizes, you light the candle, and once it's lit, it can never be unlit. It will be an eternal flame. They say once, you get your first little dose of illumination, it'll be permanent. You'll never be able to turn it off. It'll be on like a light all night. So now you are coagulated with the body. Your soul is now fixed into the body, understanding where it comes from. That transformation. So I know, of course, in occult anatomy, Taurus rules the throat and their throat chakra. Now, the mystery Taurus, is how we speak. And we understand that the word that emanates from the supreme spiritual realm, or the logos, is the word, and the word manifests in human through the voice. And our larynx is shaped like a female reproductive system, and that relates to the bull and Venus, and how we generate and create with our voice. And we need to control our sexual energy through our voice and through mantras. And by having a subtle voice and becoming conscious of how gentle and how much love you're putting into your voice and attention, you are able to now invoke the powers of the Venus, of the god of Taurus, that Taurian energy, to be able to become beautified in your voice. I am in Aries, you're coming to awareness of I am. Now in Taurus, you're realizing I have a toolbox. I have the word. It's like the creator give you, have you seen the Egyptian picture of the eye? And he has an eye being, and he's given the eye to small little children eyes, because he's giving them the word. And that word is made flesh in us. And that's why everyone has similar aspects of truth. We all have the same subconscious connection to these archetypes. And we begin to see how powerful our words really are when it comes to relation, how our words affect others, and how our words affect our state of consciousness when we speak badly about others, or gossip, or lie. These are things that affect our energetic aura field and weaken it. And if we take the swords of truth and speak with truth, and keep our words applicable, we will always maintain strength in our values, and our sexual energy will be potent. But if we're not controlling our words, and not controlling our tongue and our taste and how we're speaking, and we're getting angry and scratchy, and always possibly not articulating properly, not utilizing the forces of Mercury in communication through the Taurus aspect of the body, then the energy field becomes discombobulated, or decoagulated. So we have to become cow herders, just like Lord Krishna. And Taurus, of course, is the bull, the logos. And logos is actually the divine reason that's inherent inside of the Taurus field. This Taurus field is permeated with truth, just like the sun shines and its rays are all about. There's nowhere the rays don't reach. So is the truth emanated from the center point, or the personality of the Godhead. And that divine reason is inherently in the creation, like it's its inheritance. It inherited the truth from its creator. George W. Carey, in the book, of course, God, man, word made flesh. He says that the word was made flesh, meaning spirit incarnated to man, and became I am. Our I am that was was created, it was just lying in the bosom of the creator, now forms and becomes a fixed individuality, and becomes prepared for its eternal journey with individual separateness. So we're going to be going back home into the spiritual realm in the same way. And this realm this is just the third dimension. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, they're all the same. They just transpose and become more subtle, more beautiful, more fine, more subtle, more truth. And as we ascend, We are on this eternal journey, and because of coagulation and the powers of Taurus, we have our beautiful fixed individualities of separateness, our eves or even numbers duality. And our larynx, like I mentioned, is very similar to the alchemical process of the female genital system and shaped like a bowl. We emanate words and create with the word different states. And this reflects in our subconscious mind and creates ripples. So when we're using Taurus, when we're speaking, we're impregnating our conscious mind and it's coming out into our reality. Those seeds become behavior patterns that later need to be eliminated. So if we become conscious of them, we can stop them in their tracks. So one thing, a lesson to learn about the Taurus and coagulation is from the one came the many, and we are now fixed individually forever. So it's not that we're going into a void and going to lose our individuality that we earned through the labors of Taurus. Taurus is a labor, and we perform the 12 labors. So we're here to we come here to gain. Hermes, born thrice great, descended, ascended, and then descended with the knowledge of both. So it continues in eternal progression. And that one manifests as many, and we are the many because we have our ability to have this separate individual, like we have bubbles, and Brahman went into the bubble, or each individual bubbles. But the bubbles won't necessarily pop now because Taurus has fixed it. We become fixed. It's actually very beautiful how we become individualized in creation. I wrote, we're all voices of the one. The Father is the stillness. Then the first motion produces a vibration, which is a wave, which is the mother or Eve. And this creates a sine wave, and that sine wave is what allows us to experience this reality on a day-to-day basis. So how can we develop the coagulation process in relation to Taurus? We look at the human body as it rules the throat chakra and the neck and the cerebellum. Now, we exercise our throat chakra through various methods of mantras, singing, kirtans, voice exercises, to become conscious how we talk, to understand that our words do affect our family members and our friends, and that our thoughts affect ourselves as well. Our subconscious mind hears everything. And the word is that magical power that creates. So if we purify our voice by singing, chanting, invocations are prayers to, possibly archangels, or prayers to the I wouldn't say demigods, but I'd say prayers to God in the forms, Shiva, Vishnu, Krishna, Supreme Brahman, Christ, Yeshua, Eheye, I am in Hebrew. So we can chant the names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, 16 times, 16 related to the 16 petal lotus in the throat chakra. The voice is closely related to the spiritual realm, even more so than air. And it can quickly draw you into the spiritual transcendental plane. Thank you, the Vaishnavas, for the Hare Krishna tradition. So we can actually help establish this permanent fixed state of consciousness through chanting mantras and becoming conscious of our voice and how we use them. We can draw sigils of Taurus and evoke Venus through copper. A sigil of Taurus would be, tracing the sigil of Taurus. Imagine becoming stable. Help apply that energy into your vocation. understand that this spiritual elementals that Alephus Levi speaks of, such as the gnomes, the sylphs, the udines, the salamanders, each one is a different element. And when we exercise Taurus, become fixed and are exercising our earth, we're invoking the gnomes. And the gnomes help us in the alchemical process, subliminate the solar atoms into the body and start working to create the astral body. And to do this, we have to write our bowl, we have to write our routines, we have to transmute the libido into the upper chamber. We have to consciously work with our cerebellum and use the bowl to do work, have the automatic part of us doing, and then the conscious part of us, the charioteer, always established in yoga. And Taurus and the throat chakra correlate to clairaudience. And I spelled that wrong, I apologize. Now, the coagulation process will unlock clairaudience, which is the inner ear. And this is the ability to hear sounds that, what like Pythagoras would say, the music of the spheres, or the music that is unheard. It is said in Vrindavan, or the highest planet where Krishna and Radha live, or the kingdom of heaven where Christ lives or dwells, the spirit dwells inside of the chamber of the heart and in the upper brain of Adam Kadmon, the supreme man, right? Right, as above, so below. There, the breeze plays music. So when a breeze comes by, beautiful music is playing. And when the spheres, the luminary bodies sing, and we're able to unlock our inner ear and hear the inner angelic messages that come from the astral plane. But first, we need to still our minds, become completely empty of thought, and become receptive. As Venus, Eve is receptive. We can do a practice every night for 10 minutes where we imagine sounds in our head like a train or a washing machine or a coin rolling, and really try to hear it and acknowledge that you have ears that hear without the physical ears, and these ears are eternal. And then this process will let you be able to see the difference between imagination and the messages from the internal planes that are external. So to exercise the throat chakra to help develop this inner ear, small exercise, the breathing exercise that you guys are already learning at the academy. If you'd like to do an extra, 10 minutes associated with the throat chakra, you upon exhale, you could chant the mantra hum or re, and vibrate the throat. This will help purify our words so we could talk more clearly, so that people can understand us and that we can live in truth. Now, Taurus representing spiritual traditions, morality, ethics, or what we call supra ethics. And we finally go into initiation, which is realizing that you're not the body. So the main goal of initiation is to come to the knowledge that you're not the body. And this is realized in all the trials and lessons that we experience. Now, it's interesting to know that in the ancient times, we actually had an experience where in the initiation, we were able to go through a process of like a miniature death and resurrection. And the Egyptians would actually put you under, and make us so we would experience what it's like to die and be outside the body. And then when you would, either stay in a tomb for 3 days or hang from a cross, mimicking the sun and the path of the solar journey. And this would initiate the awakening. And you'd be able to live your entire life knowing that you're not the body with proof. And nowadays we don't do much strenuous things of that nature. Because when we live unconscious, we live out lives as if we were the body and in and of itself. So we have feelings that we're automatic or like robots. So we have to activate the consciousness so that we can reduce the automation. And in the stages of this alchemical transformations that you're going through or will go through, will bring up a lot of fears and anxieties when you realize that, hey, you're inside of a body, and when you wake up, this is where you're going to be. So you have to accept it and know that you are part of the Supreme Brahman, connected to Lord Krishna, a child of the Christos. So just by hearing the intellectual understanding that your soul's inside of a body, after a while, this meditation creates the coagulation process and then produces a fixed state of consciousness. And through that, you'll be able to navigate and become conscious and actually control the lower forces of the lower chakras and transmute them up into the brain. So, found some very interesting quotes. First, I'd like to go into George W. Carey, God, Man, Word Made Flesh. Now, he speaks about physical regeneration. The first thing he speaks to is the inner eye. And I chose this chapter because Taurus and Aries are in the head. So we're going to be talking about the glands that are closest to that. The eye, the inner eye, the eye behind the eye, just above and attached to the pineal gland by delicate electric means, light or eye of the chamber. In Greek, it means the light of the world, the candlestick, wise virgins, the temple, needs no light of the sun. If thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Jesus Christ said, I am the light of the world. The word world comes from whirl, to turn as a wheel. Our human body is a torus field. It's in certain aspects of it. It's always turning. The force is always turning around us. And it says the human body is a certain rate of activity, motion or whirl, wood, world, and light of the world. And the temple that needs no light of sun or moon refer to the body. So this is actually referring to something very esoteric, that the sun and the moon actually exist within us. And when we see the sun and moon, we're seeing something that's like a reflection or an internal projection. We live in a realm, not a place. Now, Lost Keys to the Scriptures, Alvin Boyd Kuhn. Very interesting to know that it was actually really funny that I saw this, that the Egyptians who called their book the Book of the Dead, the mainstreams, would think that the Book of the Dead was for the dead to pass on to the next life. But the Egyptian Book of the Dead is actually a book for us here, because symbolically our consciousness is so asleep and so engrooved in the matter, and the elements are imbalanced, that there's a figurative sense that we are the dead. So when we were spiritual souls, we had a lot more freedom, unconditioned consciousness. And here we are here to become fixed in our individuality, acquire various different qualities to go back with full cognizance. And to that, I'm going to leave us with a practice to develop our inner ear and our clairaudience. And it comes from the book Hermetic Masonry by Frank C. Higgins. Candidate. In all ancient rites and mysteries, the participants in which were received by initiation, the greatest care was always exercised with respect to certain details which, if not properly carried out, might mar or invalidate the entire ceremony. The true significance of all initiation has ever been that of a spiritual rebirth. The sacred Agruchata of the Hindus says, the first birth is merely the advent into material life, or what we would say the first death. The second birth is the entrance to spiritual life, or what we term the resurrection. The newly initiated into the first degree of Brahmanism was called Dovijja, which means twice born. The very word initiate indicates that the candidate is at least symbolically in the same situation as if he had no previous existence. He is to be ushered into an altogether new world. So this is what happens when we become fixed in Taurus, and awaken, illumination. You can never go back. It's as if you're born again. And the memories are still there, and you still have access to all of that, but it's just like, it's as if you have no past, and you start fresh from that part. Your consciousness is now fixed in its Brahman self. So here's the practice. 3 successive steps which open the soul to free and unobstructed activity and communication on both the psychic and the spiritual planes. The first is to still the ego and empty the mind of every bias and standard of self and sense. So we begin through meditation for about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, to completely empty ourselves of thought by abiding in the essence, doing the practices we discussed with the Mona Lisa smile, looking to the horizon, tongue through the mouth to end the mental chatter. Now throw away the biases using the Aries archetype of calcination and separating the subtle from the gross and becoming completely free of biases, opinions, ego, thoughts. Once you're in the receptive state, you activate Taurus, the receptive state. The second consisted when this passive state had been induced in fixing and holding the attention upon the specific object about which the truth was desired. So we then place our attention on a question or a symbol or a mystery, whether it be an allegory of the Bible or an astrological composition or an event or a question about your personal life. Become in the receptive state, ask the question. And third, the foregoing 2 steps have been taken. So in the second it says, fixing and holding the attention upon the specific object about which the truth is desired. Third, the foregoing 2 steps have now been taken. The individual was to stand firmly and persistently in the receptive and listening attitude for the immediate revelation of the truth and the full expectation of getting it. This receptive state and expectant attitude open the consciousness to the psychic vibrations that write unerringly their story on the receptive mind. So now we have some information to help us become in a receptive state so that we can activate our clairaudience, develop our inner ear, and connect with the spirit realm that we now identify with through the coagulation process. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this lesson. I hope that you guys are enjoying the academy. And thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a wonderful night.